Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Megan Fletcher, the owner of Free Bird Healing based out of Waupaca, Wisconsin. Through her business, Megan specializes in supporting women, especially those who have experienced miscarriage, birth trauma, or fertility challenges, by teaching them how to listen to their intuition and how to heal through the somatic healing modality of breathwork. Her journey into this work came through her own personal experiences of grief, loss, and ultimately a powerful return to self. Along the way, she discovered that true healing doesn't come solely from medical treatments, but through deep connection with the body and soul. Megan's passion is helping women feel safe, whole, and deeply connected to themselves and their future children. She truly believes that when women heal, they heal generations. When she's not holding space for the incredible women she works with, you'll find her grounding in nature, moving with the rhythms of life, and cherishing time with her husband and their children, her greatest teachers and inspirations. So take a deep breath right now, get settled in, and get ready to learn some wisdom from Megan.
Hey, welcome back to the Motherhood Alliance podcast. We're back here with Megan Fletcher. Welcome back, Megan.
Thank you.
We've had such an awesome time having this chat with you through these last 3 episodes. And if you guys haven't listened to them, it's been amazing just having Megan's wisdom in the studio today. And in this episode, we are going to kind of dive more deeper into what intuition and what somatic awareness looks like for health and wellness professionals. We felt like this was a really good opportunity for Megan to kind of pour into that and to help other professionals really bloom in their practice too. So I guess the first question I have for you is, why do you feel it's important for practitioners like birth workers, doulas, health coaches, wellness professionals of any kind to develop the skills of intuition and somatic awareness?
Yeah, so the first word that pops in my mind is burnout. So we'll go straight to that. Where are we not allowing ourselves the energetic capacity, and where are we burning out when we're burning the candle at the end of both sticks, right? And so when we can listen to our intuition and we can be in our bodies, we can flow with the seasons of change. So your practice doesn't always have to look the way it looked when you started it. And learning to ebb and flow and to surrender to the shifts and changes of your practice will not only allow you to grow in your intuition and in your practice, but it'll allow your clients to grow. Because if you're still offering the same thing to the same people, you're not giving that kind of like opening to what other things are out there. And you're also not allowing your body to have the rest when it needs to have the rest. I think a lot of practitioners are on their healing journey while they're being practitioners. And it's so beautiful because what they bring to the table is this deep truth, and it brings their story, and it brings not only what they read in a textbook in college, but it brings true innate wisdom. And the more that they can connect to that, the more their life is just going to flow, and the people who are truly drawn to them are going to come in. And you also will see less client burnout, because clients are going to see that you're truly in this and that you have the energetic capacity to hold them And you have the capacity to hold the rest of your life also, because we all know that business is not the only thing we do. We have families, we have wants, needs, hobbies, all of the things.
I think that I love that you started with this. We're just getting straight to like the depth of what professionals are really struggling with. Honestly, I mean, burnout is a real thing. And even if your business is going well and you have a really good just cadence of maybe the amount of hours you're putting in versus personal life, it still is exhausting to be, I mean, here we're all women, so to be a working mom and just, all of it. So I love that we're starting here, but I also love how you mentioned change is okay. And how the season you're in now may be different than the season you were in when you started your business or even a year ago. And I feel like so much of what we keep coming back to in these episodes is finding that space to be quiet and to listen to yourself, right? And what are you loving right now? So if somebody were to carve out some space and some time soon to just kind of reflect and self-reflect and go for a walk or whatever they need to do, what do you feel like are some good questions that they could be asking themselves to really start figuring out what space they need to be in?
Yeah, so I think you can find prompts, but the first and foremost thing is to listen. So when you get into that space of like walking, listen. What are the birds telling you? What is the earth telling you? What is your body telling you? Is it telling you to slow down or is it telling you to speed up? And that intuition is a muscle. And we've talked about that we have to strengthen that muscle. But the more that you can sit with it, the other thing you can do is you can journal. And something I learned recently is to think about holding the pen in your right hand. Think about the journaling, what you're going to journal coming from the left side of your body and flowing out through your hand. And it will just transpose some magical things depending on what you're going through. So journal about all the things, as they call it, like rage on the page sometimes. Like if you're really angry, journal it out. Nothing can help you get the energy out better than you yourself doing it. So practitioners, energy workers, they all say like, I can fix you, I can heal you. They can help. But you are the catapult for change. You are the catapult for actually allowing this energy to leave, because you can say, I've allowed it to leave. But until you actually surrender to the release, there's this energetic piece that can still be lingering there. And your clients, your family, your business, they can all feel that.
I find it interesting that we led into this episode. And honestly, I think Drea and I thought we were going into this episode with the piece of, professionals, here's how you can bring these concepts of intuition and somatic healing. So we've talked about like the breathing or even physical movement is kind of the definition, a definition of somatic healing, how they can like apply that into their actual professionalism working with clients. But we're really not even there yet. We're talking about starting with yourself and the actual mindset and energetics of yourself as a professional.
Absolutely.
And so what you're saying is how you as a professional are functioning is going to bleed into the success and the experience of your clients and patients?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the first coaching program that I had taken, we talked about a little bit in another episode, but the first module was you go first. And then the second module and the third. So out of this 9-month program, the first third of it was all about us going first. So we did the work, and not saying that anyone is ever done doing the work, right? Like we get to do this work. It's not a healing as much as it's an experiencing. And so if you're in the motto of I go first, it's what do I need? Because from what I've experienced with myself and with other practitioners is whatever we're experiencing is what the soul-aligned clients behind us or that are following us or that need from us, they need also, right? So if we don't go first, then it's almost like we're like cutting off that line, like it's like severing it. So it's all a give and a take, and nobody is higher or lower than one another, but there's these fluid pieces of this that if I don't do the work, the people next to me also can't do that work. And that's that alchemy again. And even within our homes, if I'm pretending that I'm doing the work, but I'm not actually sitting with that cup of tea or going on that nature walk, what are we showing our children or our spouse or the people around us? We're showing them that you can fake it, and that's spiritual bypassing. And so when we're in a business where we're like, this is what we truly believe in, people will feel it before they see it. People will feel it before they hear it. And so if your energy is not aligned with the work that you're doing, which happens a lot of time in burnout, is you have the energy isn't aligned. You're like, yes, this is what I'm telling people. I'm talking to them this way, but I can feel the energy in your post. I can feel the energy in your podcast episode. I can feel the energy when I walk in this space. At any given moment, we can change the energy, but we have to know our intuition. We have to know what we're moving towards, and we have to know that we're in the right space. And the seasons, that can change within the month. Our cycle changes. We're women. And men's cycle changes also. That can change within the year. Like maybe in the fall is your favorite time of the year to be outside a lot, and you just take on less clients in the fall. And then in the winter, you really love to nurture people, and you know, whatever your business practice is, like that's when you have like just a load. And it might be different for everybody. Or in the spring, it's really heavy because you're like, I love getting people in the spring. There's so much energy, whatever it is. Start to look at your seasons and apply them to your life, because the people that are coming in will uphold your boundaries, and it gets into boundaries too. Boundaries is a big one.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So boundaries is definitely something that in my own practice and in my own life, I've really had to boundary up. And it seems like when I started implementing boundaries and even had the awareness of what a boundary was, there was more times I needed to implement them, and there was more people talking about them. And then there was more people that would say things to me, and I was like, we need boundaries. Like, and in our practices, we have to know not what comes first, second, or third, but we get to look at it as a big picture. Like pretend you're painting a mural, and you may not be artistic at all, but if you can envision your practice and your family and your spouse and your mother and your ailing grandparents and all of that as a picture right now, what would that look like? And tomorrow it might look different. And in 6 months, it might look different. You get to ebb and flow with those changes, but it's that piece of surrender and that piece of knowing. And so that's where the intuition comes in, is the surrender and the know.
Can you give some examples of some of the boundaries that you've implemented?
Yeah. So different types of boundaries for myself. I am technically, we'll call myself like a stay-at-home working mom. My husband works really, really long hours. And there's... So a lot of times the way I work is like when things drop in, I have to say them out loud. It means somebody here needs to hear this. So a boundary in my relationship with my husband was that when I didn't feel that the energy was right in our sexual relationship, that I said no, and this is why. It's not because I don't love you, and it's not because I think that I shouldn't ever have to do it. This just doesn't feel right now. And then there's another layer to that of like, how can we make it feel right now so that we both are getting what we need? And we talked a little bit just about the power of prayer or the power of connecting before you have intimacy. And looking at intimacy, so I do womb work, right? Like we get in the body, we get into the parts that feel squeamish. And I'm not going to do that with someone on the first try. But when we get into those parts, we can start to shed those layers. And it doesn't matter if it's your spouse or your business partner or your business, because your business is living, right? Or your children. You have to get intimate with those bits and pieces so that you can see what needs to be shed, what needs to be confronted, what gets to be unearthed. What are we birthing into this world? And that's not just a baby. That's your practice. That's your relationship with your husband, your relationship with your children. It is all a birth within your body, and you get to be the driver, but you also get to surrender to what that looks like.
And let's stay on you just a little bit more here, because if we kind of circle back to the somatic healing, so like the breathing and the walking and the movement and that kind of thing, what do you do in your, whether it's daily or weekly, like what are things that you do on your normal routine to help you really hone in on your intuition? Because I think a lot of people are listening to this and they're like, I am just so dang busy.
Mm-hmm.
Could I carve out 5 minutes? Maybe. Okay, sure. 5 minutes. And obviously what you're doing, you've been in this space for a long time. So things that people are just doing starting out is going to look a lot different than you. But I'd love to just hear what are kind of your main things in your routine that have really helped you dive deep into this journey.
Yeah, so this is a great question. When I came into it, I figured I had to be doing breath work, I had to be doing hypnotherapy, I had to be going to see a practitioner every single week or every other at the least. I had to be doing meditation where I sit with my legs crossed and my fingers up in the air. Like I truly was like, I have to be doing yoga, I have to be doing all of these things. And it's funny, the way that you said it is the one non-negotiable that I, try every single day to do is that 5 minutes in the morning before anybody is awake. And if that means that I have to pretend I'm sleeping in my bed and just like ignore the fact that the world is waking up around me because I maybe overslept or needed more, right? As I sit with myself and I try to connect my roots to the earth. So part of this is like, we can get all up in our heads about all the things we could be doing. But if we're not pulling those things and grounding them into the earth, then we're not going to bring it in to here now. And so a lot of times I'll just connect with God and I'll say, okay, what do I need to do today? And truly, this is what people have told me I should do, right? Like they're like, just connect. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. But for me, it's like, I just have to ground myself first. And if I don't feel the earth below me, and that doesn't mean I have to be touching the earth, but I have to feel it like deep in my body, pulling me down, that brings me mentally down also. It like heavies my body a little bit to say, okay, you're here on earth. And then you can speak to God. Then you can say, or speak to whoever you're feeling like called to, speak to yourself. And you can just say, what am I here to do today? What is my top obligation? Not what is my to-do list, but like, what am I carrying into my day? You can do that with a cup of tea. You can do that with a little walk. Sometimes, like this morning, I walked down our paved driveway. I stared at the sun for 3 minutes, and then I walked back to the house and I started my day. It was not crazy. I do like to have a cup of tea. If I had mornings my own way, they would be a little bit like
for sure
more exciting. But I have 4 children, 2 dogs, 16 chickens, and like 3 cats that are pregnant right now. Okay, 1 just had babies. But like, it's wild at my house. And sometimes I just need that peace. And then also you can take that morning routine and you can sprinkle it in right before you go into the chiropractor, or right before you go into work, or right after you drop the kids off, instead of like calling your mom, because I do call my mom a lot after I drop my kids off for some reason. But instead of doing that, I just sit in the car for a second and I breathe. And really, we keep going back to breath and it sounds so dumb, but it takes a while to remember to breathe.
Let's shift gears a little bit into kind of what we alluded to in the beginning of how can professionals bring this into their practice as well. And I know that you say that clients don't need to be fixed. They need to be met. So let's start with you kind of explaining a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my experience and in experience, like going to practitioner's office, the one thing that I would love anyone to do if they feel called would be when someone comes into their office to take a breath with them. Like to have that pause. I think there's probably a book about it. It's called The Power of Pause. If you can just say, hi, how are you today? And just pause. I think I actually have to pause before that, because did you see how when I said, hi, how are you today? It led into like, it started to quicken. The energy started to quicken.
Yeah.
So if we can ground and center, smile, and then ask the question, how's it going? It opens it up in a different way than, hey, how are you? How are you today? Yeah, come into my office. How can we bring the energy we want to see in our space, meeting the client? And we can practice this with our front desk staff and that kind of thing. Like, I think it's so beautiful when people reach out and they're like, I just want to do a breathwork session, like an intuitive guided session in my workplace with all of the people that, like work in our building. Because what that does is it grows connection with one another. It grounds one another into the space. It says, okay, I'm held here. If I need something, Susie will help me because we had this connection before we even started. It's kind of like the mother-baby connection. Like we get to have that connection with our baby so that even when the world is crazy, we can come back home to it. And we can have that within our relationships and within our business practice. But we first have to lead. We first have to lead with, I start all of my, client sessions with a breath. Would you like to take a breath with me?
I love that.
It's not woo-woo.
It would make it like
just simple.
I just think like if I went into a chiropractor office or somewhere else, and if that was just how it was, it just is like, oh, I'm making space for us.
Yeah.
Like it's just slowing down. I love that.
And it also grounds you back into your body. It grounds the practitioner back in, and it grounds you back in, because practitioners, we can also hold what the last session was about, what last week was about, or what we experienced in somebody else's birth. And I've seen this with doulas and midwives, and not to judge, but there's been times where it's like they'll say, I'm really holding this, at least for my experience, like I'm really holding this from this birth, and that's why I made this decision. Okay, but every client is a clean slate, right? So where can we remind ourselves that, yes, those experiences are knowledge, but what feels right here, we need to ground into our body first. We need to take that breath first. It's almost like we need to clear the slate first for both practitioner and client so that we can really move in the direction that they are needing to go. And I think it gives the client a moment to not talk about, this will also shorten up your client sessions or allow them to have more growth, because I'm not going to come in and say, oh, my dog died and my this, that, and the other thing, because none of that actually matters for the reason that we're here right now. So if we take that breath first, I've seen with clients that all those like extras, they dissipate and they can get into into the meat of it. Not that we need it to be faster, but so that we can alchemize it in a more fluid way without bringing in extra baggage.
Yeah, I am just like reflecting on this. I know I am too, because I'm like, I can see myself running into a chiropractic office, or if I was pregnant, a prenatal appointment or something else. And my brain is just like, okay, now I need to do this. And then I have to stop at the grocery store and I have to be back at this time so it's like taking that breath it just brings you into the present moment.
Absolutely.
And that's something I think we're all working on constantly, is just being present in whatever moment we're in right now.
I feel like not just talking about practitioners and clients, just like even with just friends, with your family. Like I always
starting dinner like that.
Yeah. Just walking into a room being like, how is everybody today? You know, like, oh yeah. That's a big difference.
Another thing that I think about when it comes to professional client relationships is that professionals are oftentimes having to give their clients advice, right? And I know there can be a difference between giving advice versus helping a client or patient kind of find that answer on their own, right? And I think you would call that more of like an internal connection type piece. So how do you like navigate that line, and how do you develop that skill?
Yeah, I think that just comes. It really does. As you deepen your intuition, you start to get the little hits of, okay, this is what I need to say here. But you also get those hits of when to pause. And so something that I've really been sinking into learning in the last 2 years is the listening. I think my husband's going to be the last one to reap the benefits of this one. Because he's like the only guy the only person that I'm like, I need to tell him all the things, right? But what I've learned through being a practitioner and learned with my children is a lot of times they don't even want the fix. They want to be listened to. And so, I mean, sometimes we don't even need to give the Band-Aid, right? To the 5-year-old who scraped himself, he just wanted to be held and listened to without saying, well, you shouldn't have been doing that and we shouldn't have done this. We get to take that exact example and place it into to our with our clients. But on that aspect, there is times when I do feel like, can you give me the answer? Like I've expressed all options. And as a practitioner, you'll know, am I doing this? This is the piece. Am I doing this out of care for this client, or am I doing this because I want to make a $5 on the back end? Right? Do I have these supplements because I truly feel that they will help enhance the life of my clients? Or am I trying to sell a service because I have a quota I'm making? The energy in that people can feel, clients can feel. They can feel it through your social media. They can feel it through your presence, and you can't fake it. So there's no way to say, well, I'm not doing it because of that, right? It's not a head thing. It's a body thing. And when you truly start delving into your intuition and you know that this is your path, because some of us are going to sell supplements and some of us are going to, we're all going to do something different. That is your path, and that is why you're here, and that is what you're to do in the world. But make sure that it aligns with you and your values and your body first and foremost, and then everything else will fall into place.
I love that so much. You can really tell when somebody is so passionate, and if they really do stand behind what they're trying to
And
do.
it doesn't matter how much they're charging.
Yeah,
they could
absolutely.
be charging $1,000 or $100. The energy behind those two pieces is exactly the same. And when you're not aligned, and when you don't have some of this like intuition leading, that's when you're going to get those unaligned clients. And that's when you'll start to hear yourself say, I don't know why that person came in here. This just doesn't even seem like something I want to deal with, or whatever it is. Like some of that talk that nobody wants to talk about, but it's like those little themes that are popping up that you're like, this is not what I want to be doing. It's because you haven't deepened into your body. You haven't deepened into your intuition. And maybe there's another piece, or maybe there's another path, or maybe there's another part that you can't see because you're so walled up. And this is the way everybody else is doing it, and this is the way I have to do it to uphold the standards of society. Whole nother topic for conversation.
Right. Well, we have definitely dived into multiple different arenas within this episode, which I think are so great. I mean, not only helping professionals, I feel like this whole episode could really just be applied to working moms.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Or anyone who's trying to balance work and life. So thank you so much for sharing your insight into all 4 of these different topics that we've talked about through this series. I feel like we're going to have to listen to these about 3 times just to grasp the depth of the concepts and the fresh perspective, and we all just need it. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing in our communities. Can you remind us one more time, where can we find you?
Yep. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. My Facebook is my personal page. I have a business page. I'm not super active on that. So my Facebook page is Megan Fletcher. And then my Instagram is Megan.thefreebird. And I always have websites linked to that with the offerings that I have. And I'm always up for just a conversation. So never feel like you're going to be pressured into something, because as my name implies, I'm super freebirdish. I love to just hop on the phone or send a voice note or send a text message and just connect with people in the real, in the raw, with what they're going through. And sometimes you just need to make that one connection, and things just change, and they really just feel like, okay, I get to move on from this, and I know my next step forward.
Yeah, love it too. And just so you guys listening know, Megan is offering $50 off any one-on-one life alignment session. So if anything that we've talked about in these episodes have intrigued you, you can just reach out to her via DM or email or whatever works for you best, and just let her know that you heard about her through the podcast. So thank you, Megan, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.